Well, welcome back. Welcome back to the Extraordinary Drummer Show. As you know, I'm your host, Cheron Moore. I always say it today. I got a guy here. He really doesn't need an introduction. This is one of those guests that, you know, some people just go by their first name. You had Frank and Michael. This guy goes by one initial. How you like that? Just one initial. He's known. He's actually a drummer's drummer. One dear friend for many years. His credit includes Lenny Kravitz, Bobby Brown, Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons, New Edition, Philip Bailey, Lisa Marie Presley, Lincoln. How do you say that? Brewster.
Brewster.
Lincoln Brewster. He's an author, a drummer, a speaker, a minister, and we even found him a used car salesman.
No, not really.
You help me welcome my guest today, Zoro.
What's up, brother Cheron? How
Hey,
are you doing?
Zoro. Hey, thank you so much for being on the Extraordinary Drummer Show.
I know it's taking you a long time to get me. It's been so hard to nail this down because I've just been so busy and hard to get a hold of. I apologize for that, but I'm always wanted to do it and happy to be here with you.
Let's start from the beginning. How did you know and when did you know that you wanted to become a drummer?
Well, I think that everybody who is a drummer, it is just something that's obviously a God-given thing. It's in you, and rhythm is born inside of you. And I think all that has to happen to trigger that is you just have to hear something or see something rhythmic, and it's kind of like a magnetic force. You're drawn to it because it's already in your DNA to be attracted to it. So for me, it started. I grew up in Compton in LA, and it started with just all the records that I listened to in the neighborhood, which I grew up in the 60s and the 70s, and it was just all the soul music and the gospel music in my neighborhood. My first concert at 7 was Diana Ross and the Supremes and the Temptations, and I was already a Motown freak by the time I was 7 or 8. So going to that concert was really pivotal, and just seeing them play and seeing the drummers play. It was just listening to funky music just drew me out. I think that everybody who does whatever they do, if they're following their passion, it was always in them to do. It was just, where do you discover it? Where do you discover the gift? And you discover it when you see other people doing it, or listening to it in the case of music. So for me, it was just a magnet drawing me towards those sounds. But I didn't actually start playing drums at all until I was like 16. I was a very late starter. And then when I was 16, I actually got into the school band accidentally. It was the end of my sophomore year. I had an after school job, and I was the janitor at the high school. As soon as the bell rang, I went and cleaned everything. And the last part of the job was me cleaning the band room. And every day I would sneak on the drums and play in the band room. And the band director discovered me one day playing instead of cleaning, and then said, "Kid, you have an amazing amount of talent. Where have you been hiding?" And I said, I've been trying to get in the school band program ever since elementary, and I just stopped finally. No, they never let me in. He goes, "I need you in the stage band, the swing choir, the marching band." So in my junior years, when I actually joined the school bands, because I was discovered as a janitor at the school. And that's how my career started.
Do you remember when you got your first drum kit?
Absolutely.
What was
I,
that like?
I got the first one I bought was for like, I actually got a toy one that lasted all of a day. When I was 10, my mother bought, because she knew that I was always beating on things. In Compton, I used to take my red Radio Flyer wagon out on the main boulevard and play Folgers coffee cans and almond roca cans with my hands, and like leave a coin jar out to get people to throw coins in, put the transistor radio on, but it wasn't a drum set. Then when I was 10, she bought me a Mickey Mouse drum set from the Sears catalog for $9.99, and it was paper heads. It was a toy. It was not a real kit, and so I destroyed that by Christmas evening. So that was the end of that. The first kit I ever bought was a tiny four-piece uh, pearl drum set with like a tiger stripe finish, and it was just a real cheap thing. But then I saved up after I got discovered by the band director. I saved up. I worked two jobs that summer, 16 hours a day, and I bought my first professional kit for $1,500 cash. It was a Slingerland maple kit, five piece, and then I bought the two extra concert toms, a 6 and an 8 with the high pitch. and I love that kit. In fact, I used that to record a lot in the early days, and then eventually I gave it away to somebody. But yeah, that was the first kit, the real like pro kit that I bought. Means a lot to me.
Do you remember what you was doing? And you spoke a little bit of it going towards the high school years and then into college.
Yeah, well, in the high school years, like I said, I joined as a junior, and then as a senior, I got really into it. I graduated. I actually graduated high school because we moved from Compton to Oregon. So I graduated high school. Yeah, it was like going from Sanford and Son to the Waltons.
I was gonna say.
Oh, it was about as drastic a move as you could possibly have. But learning to operate in all of those sort of different cultures and circumstances kind of really shaped who I am, because I experienced a lot of adversity when we moved out of Compton to a small backwoods town in Oregon. Actually, we moved to a little tiny town called Grants Pass, Oregon. So there was a lot of racial hostility in those days, and my mother was Mexican from Mexico City, so they didn't like brown-skinned people. I mean, a lot of them. So I experienced a lot of hardship and poverty, but those things just gave me more zeal and more fervor and determination to make something of myself. I think sometimes hardship, it either destroys you or makes you who you are, depending on who you are and how you respond to it. But from there, when I graduated, I moved back down to LA to pursue my dream of playing music. And I actually I was in probably the best cover band in Eugene, Oregon, in the state maybe. And we went down to audition for Disneyland to get the house gig on the Tomorrowland Terrace. But we didn't end up getting the gig, and it fell apart. And then I really didn't know what to do. But I know I didn't want to go back home to Eugene because I knew my dream was in LA. So I went down to Beverly Hills High School, and I pretended like I was a student at Beverly Hills High for the year. And that's where I met Kennedy Gordy and Lenny Kravitz on the lawn there as a pretend student at Beverly Hills High.
Wow. Wow. What was happening in those college years?
I went to Berklee College of Music, but I only went there for 1 year. And then when I came back in the summer, I said I got some opportunities to do some stuff with Motown through, Kennedy Gordy. And I always said, well, school will always be there, but these opportunities might not. So I just kind of stayed and then started working myself into the scene. And I never turned back. All of a sudden I was working locally and doing a variety of different things. I played with a Motown artist early on in the early 80s named Finest Henderson. He was produced by Al McKay of Earth, Wind and Fire. And I just started working, man. And so I always intended to go back to school, but I thought, well, the whole reason to go to school is to have a career in music. My career is already starting, so why would I stop that to go back to school? So I learned from the real school of doing it. In '85 is kind of when when things really started kicking off, when I auditioned. Lenny Kravitz recommended me to the New Edition for an audition, and he recommended me to them when he nobody knew him. He was just my friend Lenny. He was not a signed artist. He was just my pal. We're just both trying to help each other out. He actually auditioned for them as well on the guitar, but he didn't get the gig, and I did. And we still laugh about that today, because if he got the gig, he wouldn't be the Lenny Kravitz everyone knew.
Oh yeah,
he was
for the side man.
He was the side man. Yeah, but anyway, so I auditioned for that and got the gig, and then that just kind of just started my whole entire career.
Your credits reach like the who's who. One of them that you're really, really known for, and I really must say, and I'm conscious of the time here, I really must say this one gig, it really, you really shaped the dichotomy of the drumming community when you got the Bobby Brown gig. It was your style, what you was playing, the songs was so hot. How did that Bobby Brown project come about?
Well, if you remember, Bobby Brown was a member of the New Edition.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in playing with New Edition and all their sellout tours all around the world, I got along with the whole group. But Bobby and I became especially close, and me and Ralph Tresvant. And but then when Bobby decided to go solo, and do his first album and tour, he asked me, come on, Z, I need you, man, come and join me. And so a lot of the gigs that I've done in my life, I did based on friendship and my belief in the friends. With Bobby, it's like I love Bobby. He never treated me like a sideman. He always treated me like I've got Zoro in my band. He made me feel special. He featured me. When we shot the My Prerogative video and the Roni video, he told the director, he goes, I want to make sure you get a bunch of shots of Zoro. He's my man. He he loved and appreciated me as a drummer and as a friend, and that made me feel, I mean, where does anybody want to go? Where you feel appreciated, where you feel honored and respected. As any accomplished musician, you want to feel honored, respected, and appreciated to be in that ensemble. Because there were a lot of artists at that time that would have never let me be featured that way. But Bobby didn't really have an ego in that way. He wanted to say, man, I got Zorro from New Edition. He's in my band. Because I don't know if you remember, but at the time I used to be in all the fan magazines every month. Every month I was like Teen Centerfold, and Teen Beat, Right On, Black Beat, Latin Beat. It didn't matter. I was everyday people to everybody. And so Bobby was like, I want Zorro in my band. And so he always really featured me and made me more prominent. And that wasn't the case with like a lot of singers. Usually it was just the singers, and then you never knew who any of the band was, and they're not going to get featured in anything. So that actually, but I took a chance by leaving New Edition because they were already super hot and popular, and Bobby was a new artist, right? And so there was no guarantee he was going to do anything. But he did, and then the next time, and then when we did the whole Don't Be Cruel thing, it exploded. And he had five top 10 hits. He had My Prerogative, Don't Be Cruel, Roni, Every Little Step. All the videos were huge, the concerts were huge. And so I just took a chance and bet on my friend. And then the same thing happened after the years of Bobby and his hype. Then Lenny Kravitz was calling me, begging me and bugging me to come and join his band. He was just getting signed to Virgin Records. And he was like, man, I know you're riding high and all with Bobby Brown, man, but my first concert's going to be for 2 billion people. I'm like, how the heck are you going to play for 2 billion people when nobody knows who you are? So I left Bobby to join Lenny, and then in Lenny's band, it was more of a band, no dancers and stuff. So I got even more featured because it was a rock and soul band, and Lenny really featured me in the band. And when you don't have dancers and stuff, and it's just a rock band like Led Zeppelin, now you're even more prominent. And then of course Lenny was my longtime buddy, right? And so I bet on him and believed in him, and then he blew up. And then he won all the Grammys 4 years in a row, Best Male Vocalist, and then we toured all over.
All right, we're gonna do something for you.
Let's talk endorsements. What equipment are you using?
I have been for many, many years a DW guy. I love DW drums. They've made me some beautiful kits over the years, and they have hands down the best hardware. And DW drums not only sound beautiful, but they look beautiful. So they're both. Some sound beautiful, but they look ugly. But DW sounds beautiful and looks beautiful. And actually, I just recently got, and it's like my top recording snare right now. This is the Earth, Wind, and Fire signature snare. It sounds amazing. I've been playing Sabian forever. I play the HHX Groove Hats and the Groove Ride. And then I also play Vic Firth sticks. They've had my signature stick for at least 20 years, just the Zoro stick. Evans drum heads, Audix microphones, and LP percussion. So I've been with these guys most of my entire career.
One of the things that you are most influential is style, your style. I love it. I've seen some awesome, and then with no shirt. Where does the style thing come from? What is
Uh,
that?
it
Where is
comes
that?
from my mother. My mother was a very stylish woman. She was from Mexico. She was the daughter of a Supreme Court justice. So she kind of grew up in the lap of luxury. And so she always had a sense of style. And then she also wanted to be an actress. So I got my scarves and all my sense of style from her because she always wore scarves, you know. And so I wear scarves sort of in honor of her.
One of your many attributes is you're also a author, and you've written quite a few books there. Can you speak about those?
Yeah, well, I've always wanted to write since when I was 10 years old. I started writing a book about camping, even though I had never been camping. Uh, but I wanted to go so bad, since I couldn't afford to go. I decided I'd write about it. I decided I was going to write the best book on camping ever. So that desire to write was always in me. When I first started playing the drums, I wanted to write a book about R&B drummers, even before I really knew what that was, because that was the music I grew up loving, and I never saw any books about those drummers. Or everyone always honored the jazz drummers, and everyone always knew the rock drummers, and those were the revered ones. No one at the time I was growing up, no one ever revered the funk R&B drummer. You didn't even know the names of the James Brown drummers, or the names of the Earth, Wind and Fire drummers, or half the drummers that played on all the R&B recordings, and nobody seemed to care. But if you were in a rock band and famous, boy, everybody knew your name and everybody cared. So I always felt like the R&B drummer was like the bastard stepchild of the music industry, and so I always wanted to honor those guys that influenced me. And I had a goal that I wanted to write a book about them when I was 18. Well, it didn't happen for like 25 years, but I wrote what became a best-selling book in the drum world called The Commandments of R&B Drumming. Took me years, and then it got voted one of the top 25 drum books of all time in Modern Drummer.
Speaking of, and I can hear this. You spoke of the Christian artist. How do you say the last name?
Brewster.
Lincoln Brewster. You're also a minister.
Mm-hmm.
How does that tie in with all of the worldliness of the drums and all of that stuff that goes on out there?
Very, very simple. There's a scripture in the Bible says to be in the world, but not of the world. Meaning we live in the world system, just don't succumb to the world system. The world system without God is a system of pride and selfishness and arrogance, because it thinks that everything I have and everything that I am is because I am. The Christian perspective is that everything I can do is because I've been gifted to do it. So if you abide by that philosophy, you walk in more humility, you realize that your life here is just an opportunity to serve. A world perspective, the people who live from a worldly perspective, they look at the world as, what can the world do to serve me? How can the world serve my needs and worship me? Whereas the Christian perspective is like, how could I use what God gave me to serve others, to serve humanity, to bless others? So me being a teacher and a mentor and a minister just allows me to use my life, my platform, my experiences in a way where the end goal is to always impact people positively, to affect them, to inspire them, to make a difference in their life, whether I'm with them for 30 seconds or 30 days or 3 years or 10 years. It's to make a positive difference by understanding that my role is to be an ambassador of love, kindness, and encouragement, and to basically use what I have to sow into other people.
Direct your attention back here to the drum set, to the man with the hat. Everybody, give it up for Zoro on the drums!
Tell me about the name Zoro. Where did the name Zoro come from?
That was a nickname that my mother nicknamed me when I was 6 years old in Compton. My older brother asked me to go to the, I told you we were poor. We were evicted time and time again. We moved, my family moved. A lot of times I moved them with my red radio flyer wagon, and we moved from one apartment to the next with all the furniture on the wagon, taking a million trips. So that's kind of how we grew up. So my older brother, when I was 6 years old, once asked me to go next door to the liquor store and steal him a copy of the Sunday edition of the LA Times. Well, I'm 6 years old. My big brother was always there for me, so I wanted to be there for him and get him a 25-cent newspaper. So I went to the store, but I put on a Zoro mask, like my hero, the Zoro guy. So I put on a mask thinking that no one would recognize the kid from next door, even though I had a cowlick like Alfalfa from the Little Rascals. And I went and stole the newspaper and then brought it back to my brother. Then later the manager came and knocked on the door and caught me. But anyway, my mother nicknamed me Zoro. She goes, "Oh, Zorito," you know. She goes, "You're like the real Zoro. You rob from the rich to give to the poor." And so it was just a nickname. And then when I got the gig with New Edition, by then I'd already been wearing the Zoro Spanish bolero hat that I got in Mexico with my mother at the bullfights, and they just naturally started calling me that. I didn't even say that was my name. They just said, yo, Zoro, you know, because I looked like Zoro. And then when they introduced me in concert, they would introduce me as Zoro, and they would introduce the rest of the band, you know, their names, but no one would remember the other guys, but they always remembered me. So that's when I was like, I'm just going to be Zoro from now on. That's it. And I just became that, and I've become that ever since.
We do a thing we call word of advice. Would you leave a few minutes or a few seconds of word of advice for the up-and-coming drummers out there that's trying to get traction?
As quickly as I can before it dies, yeah.
Yes.
I would say dream big, work hard, never give up, and always walk by faith.
Yes.
That's
Thank you,
it.
Zoro.
Gotcha. God bless you, Ron.
Talk to you soon, my friend.
I'm proud of you for pursuing your dream, brother. You've always been a blessing and fun to hang with. You're a super sweet, humble guy and a great talent. God bless you for what you're doing.
As well. Bless you too. Bye-bye, my friend.
Bye-bye. Every gift that God gives you, he gives to you in the form of a seed. But now you must nurture that seed. You must plant it. You must fertilize it. You must water it. You must protect it. But it's going to take a lot of effort to turn that seed into an extraordinary oak tree. I said, but if you read and study, you will learn what you don't know, and that's how you develop this craft. Because the talent will only take you so far. You'll never develop into the fullness of who you could be if you don't study. And I would say that to any drummer. I don't care at what level. We can all get better.
Independent.